coming. I really wasn't sure what to expect. This is my first time presenting Openwest, the first time presentation of this type. So kind of bear with me as we kind of go through this. I wanted to do focus group because I really want it to be an interactive thing. So hopefully you all have internet access. If you don't, I know that there should be a credentials on the back of your ID or your badge. Not the physical one, but the white ID, I think. So if you need to do that, hopefully get connected so that will make it easier to follow along. If you want to, you can just watch. So yeah, my name is Forrest Tate. I am currently a developer slash course writer for Simply Coding, and just to kind of give you a little background on them. They are a recently started company that we kind of specialize in teaching kids how to program, how to make websites. So I actually made a library kind of to go along with some of the courses that we were writing called SimplyJS, and this was about a year ago, and it's been kind of evolving out of that and hoping to kind of just demonstrate. This was one of the projects that we actually make in our class. One of the classes that we teach in Simply Coding. So hopefully we can go through, and I kind of want to get into some of the code and some of the API that we use. And this is, I think, a good example project. Any questions?
Yeah, what was the company that you worked for? How do you spell it?
Simply Coding.
Simply? Okay.
Yeah. And I was probably going to come back, but I can just have over. So this is, this is where I work. We're in American Fork currently. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. And kind of just to start up, to give a little bit of background for why we kind of went down this route and why I'm really kind of excited to be there. And kind of what we do is that really education in the for programming and technical aspects is really, from what I've seen in the public schools, lacking when I was there. I mean, I didn't really have any course beyond like how to use Office or how to use like very basics of computing to do anything. And so I actually was really interested when I was around 11 and 12 in programming, and I was just dying to try some different things. My dad was in IT at the time, and so he had computers around, but he actually wasn't a programmer. But I was just so interested in getting all these things. That luckily I was able to talk to someone who lives, one of my neighbors. He was a programmer, and he kind of helped teach me C and just some of the basics of programming. And ever since then, I've just always just loved tinkering and just sort of figuring out how to get things to work. And I think that, I wish at the time that there had been something kind of like Simply Coding around, because we kind of specialize in helping kids one-on-one. So rather than just having a class like this where you're just lecturing to students, we have a place that they can come in, they can work on their projects, and they can kind of get individual help. And we've seen some amazing results from kids who are as young as 10 and 11 even to get some work on this project. So this presentation, I'm going to talk about kind of our main project, which was my brothers, quote unquote, just games in the browser. And we've made a couple of different games, and the kids have been able to, the class have made a couple of different things with it, and we're kind of in the process of expanding it. So I'm hoping to, if you have any questions or ideas or feedback, I'd be more than happy to just hear them and we have discussion. So moving on, we're going to so kind of the platform, the way that we went with this is just using JavaScript. And like I said before, I made a library called Simply.js. And what the goal of the library, I realize that there's like a zillion JavaScript libraries. The goal of this was just to help kind of not just do everything for the use of the library, but just try to provide a simple way for them to get started. So this is sort of a introductory way to just kind of remove some of the initial complexity surrounding game development. So move on to kind of the outline that I'm hoping to follow. So we're going to kind of do it in like 3 levels. So the first one, we're going to talk about just getting things set up. The second one, we're going to get the character to move around. And the third one, we're going to get into creating the world. And maybe just to kind of get a demo to kind of show you what we're going to go through in this presentation. So this should be at the end. Oh yeah, also, in case you're already there interested, you can go to the GitHub for, and this is the example that I'm walking through. It's called, my username is Forrest JT, and then it's just super pipe example. So github.com/ForrestJT/super pipe example if you want to see, you can see. I have all the different levels. So this is at the end of level 1. This is kind of where it should be at. So if you get lost or something, you can kind of I'm not sure. I'm going to kind of go over the code exactly, but you can kind of see kind of these different points that we're going to go over. Okay, so this is sort of the example that we have working. So basically, there's 2 modes. There's a design mode and a play mode. So in design mode, you can move your character around, but you have these fixed items here, and you can drag and drop them to sort of design a simple level. And you can do stars we had that just gives like a bonus. It'll help you, I think it gives you like a jump bonus and then obviously points. And this is just obviously, it's just kind of simple going, and you can move your guide. So this is just the example, so you just create a simple sort of level here. And maybe just, we'll just do like a simple pig. And again, these picking in moves, so we have to move. Catch it before he goes off the screen. Oh. Well, he'll come back. So, and then we can put the flag. Okay, so now when we go back, we can go back to the menu and click play. So this will kind of put it into like live mode. Oh, suppose we can go back. Edit here, mess it up. You can go back and edit, so you can actually get on the play. So that gives you an extra boost. Anyway, so this is obviously a simpler example, and this is our thing guy that I think I had. Yeah, so if you jump on him, you can kill him, otherwise he will die. Anyway, and then the flag is where you can go on the design, which I think is kind of the goal that ends it. Anyway, so this is sort of the demo of where we're hoping to get. Oh, there we go, we have everybody chasing. All right, so obviously it's not super styled because the point of this is just to kind of give the kids a basic starting point. So for most of the kids that start this course, they have experience with HTML and CSS, and so they should be able to stylize the different elements using that. So this is just kind of more focused directly just on the actual game components themselves. And so going back to so this is our initial setup. We'll go to that. It's right here, and so that's in the initial.html file on the GitHub page. Oh yeah, we can go down and see. Making sure. So yeah, so obviously the basics we need to kind of start this is the browser, just the browser, text editor, and be happy. So and then yeah, here's the URL also for the GitHub page that you can kind of follow up. So the next level is to choose a character. And so going into that, so the first step is in simply.js. We have the SJS object. So the SJS object is just a global object for a library, and what it does is that the open function kind of attaches itself. So everything on the game is based on the DOM. So this doesn't actually do the canvas. I initially started doing the canvas rendering system, but decided to go with the DOM since it's easier with animated images. It just works easier out of the box. So thinking about maybe later porting that over to canvas, but currently it's just DOM based. So right here, you just give the ID of the object that you want to sort of have as the central object for the game. And this is an optional size you can set, otherwise it just has a default size. So we just have a div with an ID target, so we pass that in here. that kind of sets it up as this is the root element for the game. And then also we have there's different object types, so different basically classes in Simply.js. So I'm currently in the middle of the document, writing the documentation for it, so it's not quite finished right now, so I haven't gotten documentation up. I've started kind of in the code, so if you want to, if you're really curious about how things work, you can open up Simply.js, and hopefully it's semi-readable. So there's this sjs.image, which represents an object that's represented by an image, so you can just pass in the image object. By default, it will just set the size to however big the image is, or you can scale it explicitly, like we do in this line, by just passing in the numbers here. So, or you can, there's a function called set size. So basically, we first we get the background, and just by making the new image, it is added to the screen, so it should be visible at this point. And then we do the same thing with the player. We give them an image, and then we actually set the size explicitly on the player. So we can scale it to obviously whatever. And then the type. So this is really kind of important in the library of things, just setting the type so that we can figure out different collision detection is all based on the type. So that is just a unique string that you can use to identify that specific type. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything that's related to anything else. But we'll get into that a little later. So basically, set gravity, that is just is kind of an easy way to just simulate gravity for that specific object, and it applies a constant accelerated force simulated on the object, constant acceleration, I guess. And then also we have the key bindings. So this is the SimplyJS way to just bind to these are just constants defined for us globally. And this will allow us to, so basically when you push left key, we'll push the player to the left or the right. So obviously this is just a very basic setup. Hopefully this kind of makes sense. We have our onload on the body that just starts when the body's loaded. And then I just have some minimal stylings on the div object. So this is just sort of the basic setup, and then put the library here. So kind of moving on to, so that's level one. So this is just kind of the base for starting. The next object is the next thing is we're going to add like the player first of all. So the player and having him being able to move around. So as we can see on our exam level one, we can move him up, and then he can, and essentially he has gravity on him. So that's kind of what we're at level one. Okay, so the next major concept kind of that was introduced into the library is called stages. So stages kind of allow you to group objects that should be displayed at different times together. And kind of the way that I thought would be the easiest initially was just having this function called makestage. So basically, what stage something is in. So for instance, this background is in a stage. So all these images, anything that's really visible. So there's the SimplyJS. There's images I define as a button. There's also text, just like raw text, like a span tag. You can put it in there. And what the stages do is allow you to kind of group them when they should be displayed together. So this background, just because it's so essentially there's a default stage when the library starts, and when you call this new sjs.image, this will create the background in that stage. So I'm making a new stage here, design, that kind of sets the current stage to the design stage. So this puts the background into the design stage. So same thing with the player. So right now both those objects are in the design stage. And then kind of marked here just to show that this is new to level 2, that's not pulled from level 1. And then I also have this weird looking set H flip images. So there's a little bit of complication to do with obviously when we hit the arrow keys, we don't want the player to just, so right now with our current level 1, it just looks the same way. It looks left always, even if you're going right, which just kind of is odd. So this set H flip images allows us to just say, I want to define a specific horizontally flipped image. So I basically just give it these two arguments, which is the left and the right images. So I can call a specific function later. So now we changed our key down, so it doesn't just push the player left, it also faces them left. So this just faces them left, faces them right, and then pushes them in that direction. So that will give us that functionality. And then the last thing is the jump. So to implement the jump, what we do is we have two variables that we added, and a score, because you can't have a game without a score, so you can beat someone. So we have the can jump, which is just a Boolean and a jump power. So that's how high we can jump. And we have that set so we can have like power-ups later on, like the star that will jump higher. So what we do here is we first see when the up key is pressed, if the can jump attribute, if that variable set, then we can push the player up by however amount jump power is set to. So the push up essentially just applies an upward acceleration, like kind of instantaneous. And then after that, sets the velocity up. And then because we have gravity set to here, it will kind of level out, which causes the player to fall back down. So we initialize it to true, and so when they first start, it will set it to false, and then we set a timeout after a second. So that this allows us to, or allows the designer, so you can set this to whatever you want, and if you set it to really small or next to nothing, then they can basically just fly. They basically can just go wherever they want. So a lot of the kids like that. They like to have, this is like they make jet packs for player. I don't know. They have. So this is, so this allows them to, control that. So this is how. So basically at the end of this, and then we have our score. So our score is just the sjs.text. It's just a very simple object. We pass in a string, and there's also some optional. This is just a size and a color you can add to it to make it just to make it slightly easier for using it. But again, like I said, you can give this an ID, and you can just use CSS. Just the same. Also, there's this, I have the function called make global. So this just makes it so that it's available in all stages. So when we change stages, which we're going to do in the next level, which is the most comprehensive level, making the world, that's going to be more important then. And then also have all objects in, so all text, images, buttons, they all are kind of positioned. You can be positioned absolutely within the game screen using these bottom, right, top, left, and offset or center. So you can center things and kind of move things to the bottom with the right horizontally. Just because I know there's a lot of, it's easy to put something on the top left corner, but it's kind of a different story when you want to do bottom right and change things. So I just added these kind of convenience functions, bottom right, offset. It just kind of allows kids and allows users to move specific objects around the screen. Obviously, it's not like CSS but you can, like I said, this is just sort of to help make it easier, just initially getting into it. So let's just see this in action. So once we have our level 2, we have the guy who can jump. Fine. So I'm holding down the up key, and you can only jump after a second. And we can show what it's like if you do it for 100 milliseconds. You basically can just go over.
Are you double jumping in the air?
Yeah, so because he's jumping after every 100 milliseconds, so 10 times faster than he was normally jumping. So he could basically fly anywhere he wants. Oh yeah, and then also, so before we didn't have the scrolling, there's also a function for that kind of just helps simplify is for the background, scrollable. So obviously there's some of these functions like set gravity and scrollable, which are a little bit like black box-ish, but this is just to help, I think these are just more general type of functionalities that just kind of help get things started. So, yeah, there we go. So, okay, so moving on to, before we go to level 3, because there's a lot of stuff in level 3, I am going to just copy the star. So our star is just another object. Just copy And we're just going to talk about collision detection really fast. So implemented a basic collision detection system. So here, we'll kind of just demonstrate this. So basically, we'll create a new star variable, and it's going to be an image with the image set to images star. So set the type to star. So if you remember from before, we have our type on player set to player. And this just makes it draggable. So this actually is not final. So this is from before. We actually don't need these things currently at the moment. This is going to move it to a specific location, so we can and then friction. So basically what we need is oh, right, okay. So there's so sort of the way that the collision detection works is using this onHit function. So you call this is addition to the SJS namespace. This calls and you pass in two types. So the first type is the player, which we set before in the player. The second one's the star, and then you pass it a callback, and what it gives you is the two actual objects. So here you're not passing in objects, you're just passing in types. So this allows you to say if any player with that type hits a star, then I want you to basically do perform a specific function. So this will set the friction to 0.1. Yeah, we don't need this. This will just basically temporarily allow. So this will destroy the star. Oh, I remember what this was. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, so basically this will kind of pop the star up. So when we hit the star, we want it to kind of like pop up, like I don't know, if you remember, like so like in Mario, you hit something, it kind of has like an animation. So this is sort of the equivalent of having an animation. So instead of friction, so it's not crazy fast. This will push the star up and to the right, and then after 500 milliseconds, we'll destroy the star. We'll set the jump power to 16, where before it was 10. And then we'll set it back to 10 after 3 seconds. So this gives the player basically a boost for that time. And this, so basically the whole, and then also there's these optional parameters on the onHit that we don't really need currently. Anyway, okay, so going back to our level, so we have our star here. You can see now, if we hit into it, whoa. Oh, it's because we still have our, sorry, here's the set our jump power back to a reasonable value.
I think you need to set the type of the star on there.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Good catch. That's what happens whenever you try to demo things live. Okay. Let's go back. Yeah. So now we have it where it will boost it. So. Anyway, so that's kind of a basic like boost level thing. So there's different types you can do. So this is just giving you jump power, but maybe we kind of use a similar process in making a game with fish kind of coming out from the sides of the screen, and so they'll have something that will fall and like slow you down, or there's a shark that will eat you. And so using this simple type of functionality makes it, hopefully, I think it makes it easier just to get the functionality defined. Obviously, yeah, which knows the syntax. So hopefully, I mean, kind of tried to keep it like pretty minimal framework-wise. So obviously, it's not like even a framework. It's more focused towards making it just simple, trying to keep the number of lines of code low. So this was 60, line 60. So yeah, we'll move on to, so the last level, we kind of add a lot more stuff, as we can see. We have we have our platform star with a coin, a pig, flag. So you can add any number of images or any number of objects, and you can change. You know, obviously this can be set up any number of different ways. So we'll kind of just go over basically how the stages work. So I kind of introduced you to the basic stages. So we have, so in our level 3 here, we have our design stage. So background, the keys, setting the images. So basically what we do to make the design portion is we have it just set. So basically when we do this onHit function, what we do is this is actually a decimal number that will define how much basically the two images need to collide. So this is a number between 0 and 1. 1 being they have to be completely overlapped, and 0 meaning they don't have to be even any, or it's just basically 0 just means any kind of collision. It doesn't matter how small. And you can put like 0.5 to say half of the smaller image needs to overlap, or 3/4 of it, or whatever. And then this is the stage. So this is saying only in the game stage should this onHit take effect. And then we also set fixed, which just makes it doesn't scroll. So basically we do the same type of thing when we create the star, the platform. And then we also have this stop by. So SimplyJS also provides like simple callbacks for just stopping something. So this will stop the player and the platform from basically hitting it. So it'll stop the player from hitting into the platform. That's how that works. So you basically pass in just the callback function and pass away. So yeah, we have our platform, a star, coin. So that's where we have kind of all of that. So we set the text to score initially. So this is just kind of initializing this line score. And then we add the mouse handler. So kind of similar to the keyboard events handling, you just have on mouse down instead of on key down. And this is happening on the pig. So this just sets the event handler for that pig object. So what that does makes a new pig, and then sets all the properties for it, sets the flipping images. And then when we have the mouse up, it will kind of release that pig from the mouse and we'll just let it go free. So this pig actually was this has a little bit different than normal, because what we do here is, so on mouse up, we actually have it start moving. So the other objects, they just stay still, they're just static, but with this on mouse up, on mouse down, you can do any number of things with the objects, or other objects, depending on how you want to set it up. So yeah, there's just kind of a lot of same type of thing. So if you're kind of more interested about like the pig, you can kind of look at the code and see that on the GitHub. So here's where we kind of define more onHit. So this is a little bit more complicated because so when we jump on the pig, we want the pig to, so we want the player first of all to bounce off. So these are the two predefined main functions from SJS that give us stop by, which will just stop the player essentially. If it runs into something moving, it will stop it, and bounce off, which will cause it to bounce off of something. And then these are just the stages, so both the game and design, but not the menu stage, basically. So we set the onHit for pig and platform, same type of thing. We just want it to bounce, or change the direction basically when it hits into the platform. So the flag is sort of our way to end the game. So when we have it hit, we want to go to the the next level, or with the windscreen, or whatever you want. And there's also a trash. So I don't know if I can show that, but there's yeah. Trash can here. So just in case, we have something we want to get rid of, just throw the thing away. So the same principles apply to the trash can. So the way, so this is how you do buttons. It's just SJS.button. So everything kind of is in SJS interface, like I said. This is the title, and then this is the callback. So simple callback function. So you can set that to a specific position. Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
So when you're placing a pig in, I'll just call it developer mode, like when you're making your level and you release a pig, if the pig hits you, so I thought I saw the player's avatar, what does that do? Does it have any effect on it? Or
Actually, yeah,
trigger a response?
it doesn't because, like I said, so on
Probably
the
wouldn't want it to.
yeah, you can set it so it only happens at a specific stage.
Okay.
So when you're in the design mode, you're in the design stage,
Mhm.
and you can say on the on hit which stage it should apply. I mean, it's optional. Otherwise, it will happen by with all of them. Which, yeah, in that case, you don't want that.
Yeah, I
So-
figured you'd probably do that because the pig's walking around and it'd be kind of awkward if you lost the game.
Yeah, that would be awkward. So we can see. We can go through. It just doesn't do anything because they're happy together. That's a good question, though. Thank you. And again, yeah, feel free to stop me if you have more questions. Definitely. Happy to clear things up. Yeah. So. We have our menu. So we're making so this was the design stage. So all of this functionality, obviously, we want the drag and drop functionality is all just in the designing stage. And then in the menu stage is where it's just the simple where there's two buttons. It's we put the title, which just shows the super quick example. There's the design button, and then there's the play button. And all of the design button does, it just sets the stage to be designed. That just shows all the objects that were defined in the design stage and hides everything else. And then the play button actually is a little bit more complicated just because we have to copy over all the objects from the design stage. So initially everything is kind of set in the design stage, like we saw before. But what we do is we introduce kind of the concept of arrays. So we have a level that is an array or a collection of objects in that level. And when we click on, when we create a new object of whatever it is, whether it be a platform, a star, we want to push that object onto the level. So the array is just an object, or the level is an array of all the objects in that specific level. And obviously this is just kind of the simple, like single level example, but this same concept could be used to have an array of arrays, and we can have lots of levels with lots of objects. And the same kind of principles would apply. So what we do is we kind of reset the player to 0, 0. So that just fall from the top of the screen like we saw. But you can have them initially start out anywhere on the map just by sitting here. This sets the stage to be game. And at that point, there's actually nothing in the stage. So we actually have to remove, the player is in, I think the player is outside. So we have to remove him from the current stage so that he's not any stages using these functions. And then we add the keys, which is just the key up, key down. We just have to make sure that that's added to the stage so that the key functionality will work. And then this will get rid of everything else, all the objects, all the visible objects. This is what destroy all does. I'm going to have to read that eventually. Add screens. And then adding to stage. So we basically we remove everything from the game stage that might be left over. That's the main reason we're calling this, because when we call, or when we have our menu button that's in all the stages, that just made, so basically when you call that, it just changes the stage. So there may be stuff left over in the game stage. That's why we're calling remove. Because initially there's nothing in it, so this will just do nothing initially. But then we re-add everything, and then we add copy of array. So this will just make a copy of the level array of all the objects and put it into the current stage. So resets the score, and resets the text of the label, the score label. And yeah, and that is how, so that's kind of why there's a lot more going on with the play button. But obviously, like I said, the same type of thing could apply to having multiple levels and scaling bigger, but yeah. So then we make another couple stages called win and game over. So these are just the stages, or the kind of states where the player's won and the player died, or other bad guy. And then everything on the example. And like I said, you can feel free to play around with it and try to come up with different level. I don't know. I've had fun. It's kind of make different levels, and I'm currently hoping to maybe add some additional functionality to making it so it can save, to making things save to like a local storage or other things eventually. But currently, yeah. So everything, like I said, is just in that like array. So basically, I'm hoping to make it just simple enough that if there's other things, just making it flexible, whatever. So yeah, like I said, if you guys have any ideas about the best direction to go next, or what you guys think would be really cool to add, I think we're currently adding path following functionality for this summer. We're doing a summer camp about making a tower defense game. So that's kind of our next idea and our next project that we're going to be working on this summer.
Have you taken this idea and turned it into a co-op? Have you just taken have you just made 2 players on the screen and just?
Yeah, actually, that's another thing that I'm glad you brought that up. That's another thing that we are currently working on. I actually have a friend, and he's presenting in the room right now. This is the same time actually on his product for his company actually that he's involved with called The Gun, and we're actually kind of in the process of making a multiplayer game with this thing called Gun. Yeah, that's one we're starting to see the other person on the screen, and that was actually pretty cool. So yeah, that's another thing that we're definitely. Technology is here and it's awesome.
Have you integrated any sort of like sprite sheet or any sort of, I'm just thinking about animations, plugging animations into this.
Right.
Have you done that yet?
Yeah, so that's a good point. We haven't implemented the sprite sheet, making that explicitly part of it, just to make it simpler for the kids initially getting started with it. But yeah, definitely that would be something that would be good to add. Yeah, because like I said, going back to why we chose the DOM, it was basically so we could use like animated GIFs or animated objects that the browser would do kind of essentially. Well, so that would manage that for them. So, but yeah, definitely that would be a good next step. So yeah, that was the level 3. Got your thumbs up here. So yeah, basically, if there's any other questions, we'd be happy to go over. I think that pretty much covers most of that existing code. As said,
Do you have any audio support right now?
no, not currently, but that is actually, I think that's actually in the works because we are adding we have support now that we're currently integrating from, we have another team member who's working on touch support for mobile apps, and he's adding the audio aspect of that. So that's kind of in development, I guess. But that's a good idea. So yeah, basically, if you have any more questions or if you want to know more about us, it's on our website, SimplyJS. Yeah, we try to help just be involved in helping the kids especially, but we're hoping to maybe look into setting up some more classes and expanding into additional topics. So currently, yeah, we're focused on web kind of technologies, web, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We have some Java classes and Ruby that we're kind of opening up here.
So what's the craziest thing that you've seen your students come up with given this base that you've given them?
Actually, that I just saw a couple weeks ago. I was helping a student. He's working on a Octopus Evolution game. So actually, it's kind of cool. You have octopuses like appear on the screen, and then you drag them together, and they evolve into like a bigger octopus, and then you can evolve those. Even he has actually implemented save, so he actually is using local storage to save his game and load it, and he actually has sound. Yeah, he's probably one. So we have a couple students, that are really taking to this, and just, I don't know. I think it's cool just to see the creative ways that they've thought of how to use it that I just totally didn't even think of. And he's like, I think he's like 14 or 15. So it just goes to show. I think that so I think this is good for anyone. I don't think it's necessarily just for kids, but I think it's a great way to just start and kind of get the concepts, because I think a lot of times it's kind of scary to just start from, absolutely nothing, just start from ones and zeros and having to load images and having to figure out all the math behind that, and to just have a way to just sort of get introduced to the concepts and the experience of game development and kind of game design. And I think something like SimplyJS is hopefully going to become more, so it's going to become more of that, allow people to have that experience earlier on. And hopefully not just people with SimplyJS. That's why I'm hoping to present and allow others to kind of get an idea or contribute or, I don't know, anything related to that. So yeah, if you're interested in further, I would it's on the GitHub page.
If we were to make contributions to it, would you want us to do the pull request on that GitHub, the example one, or do you have?
I have a it's just called SimplyJS. It's on my same GitHub page.
Okay.
So we can go. So yeah, I have the SimplyJS page. It's currently lacking documentation, but I'm really trying to get this. I'm almost done with getting that out, so we can actually have the site and see all the functions, because I realize that's important. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you have any ideas, definitely GitHub, or like I said, email. This is my personal email. This is the Simply Coding contact information. If you're interested, I mean, we're currently gearing up for summer camps, but I know that we're interested in trying new classes and new ideas. We're still a fairly small company. So if you're interested, definitely stop by or email. We'd love to hear from you.
This is kind of tangentially related, sort of in the same ballpark. Have you ever seen the little JavaScript elevator programming game?
Elevator? No, I haven't.
Go to your search engine of choice and type in JavaScript elevator game.
Okay, sure. Anyway, thank you all for coming. I think that's pretty much,